Hi, I'm Ken Kessler, and welcome to the Sounds of Christmas podcast. If you're new to this podcast, I want to start by saying thanks for joining us. If you're not new, welcome back. Either way, I'm glad you're here. Now, to avoid any confusion, I want to start off by saying there won't be any music played here. This is a place for conversation. I'll talk about Christmas music and some related topics, sometimes by myself and sometimes with guests. If you're looking for music, just go to soundsofchristmas.com and click on the tree or the player on the front page or on the Listen Now page. We play the best variety of Christmas music all year long. Well, except in October, when we play the best variety of Halloween music. Singer-songwriter Lisa Biaels is with us today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Ken.
You're known as a blues singer guitarist. Are you okay with that description, or is there something else that you prefer?
I think that hits it.
Okay. What inspired you to head down a musical path?
Well, I grew up in a musical family and learned to sing from listening to my mother singing around the house. And she was in community theater and had, Ella Fitzgerald, Lena Horne records. And my dad played upright bass in a Dixieland jazz band. So that happy music was playing in my childhood. So I just came about it naturally. I just started singing at a young age and loved it. And it made me feel good. And I think it's because you have to breathe when you're singing. You have to consciously make an effort and breathe. And I think that's what makes people feel so good when we're singing.
So what led you from that into, I guess it was sort of music people like to put everybody in boxes, but your music had more of a folk feel, and then you went to blues.
Yeah. Yeah, it was folky for a long while. And writing in the singer-songwriter sort of genres kind of feels like, standing with the guitar, singing. It feels like folk music. But a lot of people would say, oh, I love that bluesy sound you have. I was always hearing that. And I think it was this timbre of my voice that people were commenting about. And then I met E.G. Kite, and she said, oh yeah, you got the blues voice. So you got to come down here to Macon, Georgia. I'm going to record an album on you. That's what she said. I'm going to record an album on you. And I said, well, okay, that sounds great to me. I'd never had anybody produce a record for me before, and it was a really wonderful experience. And so we did a lot of research, and she turned me on to a lot of different kinds of blues music, that I hadn't heard before. And that sort of started it all.
I saw on your website that as you were learning guitar, your brother gave you a Beatles songbook, and later on you covered While My Guitar Gently Weeps. And then I saw that you sang that for Francis Ford Coppola. How did that happen?
That's true. Yeah. So I met Francis Ford Coppola at a private party in North Carolina. I was singing and, met him. He's charming. And, a few years later, he called me and said, I've got this movie and there's, there's a part where a woman she's a waitress, but she also sings. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's interesting. Oh, that sounds neat. He goes, and I was just wondering if you'd be interested in the part. And I was like, oh, yeah, I didn't think he was just calling me to chat about it, but yes, sure, I'd like to do that. And then we filmed it in California, Northern California. And when we all got together to meet all the actors and everything, he said, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Would you mind singing While My Guitar Gently Weeps? And my mind went, oh my God, how did he know I did that song? He must have been listening to my music, and I was like, and I'm so glad he asked me one that I knew, because I don't remember all the songs that I've recorded. I can't possibly 11 albums.
Sure.
So anyway, that's how that came about. And I'm in his movie. It's called Twixt.
How did you avoid getting the acting bug after that?
Well, that's a lot of waiting around, and it's a lot of hard work acting for a movie. I do have a master's degree in theater, so I love theater. And I directed a show here in Oxford at our community theater early in the year in March, and that was a whole lot of fun. But there's a lot of acting that goes on when you're on stage, singing,
Right.
acting out those songs or feeling all the emotions that go along with it.
Speaking of emotions that go along with it, I love the story behind Crying Over You. That's on your album, The Beat of My Heart. Can you share the origins of that and how and why you decided to record it?
Yes, Crying Over You is a song that my mother wrote and sang when she was 24 years old. She was out in California with my father and some friends, and they were working, and she was singing, and she recorded this tune, and it was a cappella. She recorded a cappella on a 75 record where you could just sing, and then they would cut it immediately, and then you'd go home with this record. So she had this record. I didn't know she had this record, but I remember hearing her sing that song when I was a little girl many, 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 many times. She'd stand at the kitchen sink, stare out the window, doing the singing, out, doing the laundry, painting the clothes, singing. Everybody in the neighborhood knew she sang. She just sang. And so my mother died in 98, and my dad died in '02. And in '02, we found a box of things, and the record was there, and I just happened to have a little record player that played 33, 45, and 78, and I'm like looking at it going, that's gotta be a 78. So I put it on, and there she is singing this song a cappella, so beautiful, and just takes me back to when I was a child, standing in the kitchen listening to my mother sing. So I thought, well, I talked to Tony Bronigal, my producer. I said, well, I'd like to do this song, but I think what are we going to do? Maybe we could have her voice on there. Maybe she could do the first verse, and I could come in and finish it. And that's what we did.
So it's almost like a duet.
Almost, yes.
How nice. What a cool story. Thank you. The new album's called At Christmas, and we're going to get to that in a second. I noticed this wasn't exactly your first foray into Christmas music. You recorded Carol of the Bells years ago for your Come to Me album, which
Yeah.
was not a Christmas album. How did you
No,
wind up doing that?
I just liked the song so much, and I thought, well, I'm going to put this on here, see how it does. And people like it, and I get requests for it a lot from my husband. He loves that song. But when I went to recording this album, I thought, well, I'm going to sing all my favorite Christmas songs. And then I thought, well, I'm going to have to write a couple, and I was like, oh gosh, this is hard. How am I going to get in the mood for this? It's, June, it's July, it's August, how am I going to write Christmas songs? And, so once I got going, it was great. But I called Tony. I'd written one song, the Christmas record song. How do I get in the mood to sing a holiday song in September? And then I was stuck. I was like, oh my God, what was I thinking? I called Tony and said, Tony, I don't know. I'm having second thoughts. He goes, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. I've got ideas. I've got ideas. I'm gonna send you my ideas. Hold on now. Don't do anything. Don't talk like that. And then the next day he sent me this very sleepy version of the boy I met, the boy I met, the boy I met for Christmas. And then I hear him like kind of snort, and I'm thinking, he's asleep. And in the middle of the night, it came to him, and he recorded it on his phone. In the morning, he sent it to me. So that kind of got me. As soon as I heard that, I saw the whole story of the song and was able to, create the verses that went along with it. And that then we were like going back and forth, like working off of each other with ideas. And it just came. It was wonderful.
There are lots of stories of different artists over the years recording Christmas music in the summer. And really, that's almost what you have to do to be able to have it ready for the Christmas season. But I can't think of another song that is actually about that process besides Christmas Record.
Oh.
I can't think of it. I'm sure that there may be somebody listening right now who says, but what about? And,
yeah.
And if you've got a what about for this, go ahead and find me on social media and let me know, and I'll make the correction. But I don't know of another one. One of the other things that I thought was very interesting about this album is that there's kind of a connection to Conan O'Brien.
Oh, yes, that's true. Richie LaBamba did the horns on Shake Hands with Santa Claus. And Mark Pender, Jerry Bavino, and Garrett Smith. I think all those guys worked with Conan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the names and, La Bamba, obviously,
Yeah.
everybody remembers him.
Yeah.
But I thought, oh, how cool.
I know.
And
It's so cool.
yeah, and the album is one of the things that I love about Christmas music is that it can break all the rules because if you're making a blues album, it needs to be, well, the philosophy or the thinking on it. It needs to be a blues album, and you can't mix genres. And but at Christmas has big band and New Orleans style jazz and classic rock and even kind of country. It's a big mix of stuff, which really is unique to Christmas music. It's one place that you can do that and nobody says anything.
Yeah, I love that. It's like anything goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Felt a lot of freedom and it just felt really good.
With Shake Hands with Santa Claus, which I think that is the only cover that's on there, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Were there other ones that you wanted to do that just didn't make the cut, or is there something special about this song?
I love the sentiment of this tune. To me, the lyrics, it's like something I would have said, if you want some candy, I'll bring you some candy. And it's shake hands with Santa Claus, but I say shake hands with Mrs. Claus. So I'm stepping into the boots here of Mrs. Claus and, taking care of everybody, feeding them and giving them candy and flowers and tie. And it says, I love you, and I'm going to bring. I just love singing that. It just feels so good to say that, to sing that.
Now, I don't want to spoil it for everybody going track by track for everything, but can you share the story behind Lulu Magoo?
Oh, Lulu. That tune was going through my head so for so long since I got this cute little dog. Lulu Magoo, she'll unconditionally adore you. That's all the farther I've got. That's been in my head. We walk, I say that, hey Magoo, And then when it came time for Christmas, I'm like, well, this is the perfect opportunity. I'll just make it a Christmas song. And so that just sort of opened it up. I'd had that idea in my head for a couple of years and didn't really do anything with it. And it just made all kinds of sense to put it on the album.
So Lulu Magoo is kind of I was going to say a real person, but a real dog.
She's my little King Charles
Oh,
Cavalier.
sweet.
She's on the back of the album. You'll be able to see her there.
Oh, sweet.
She's got a little, yeah.
Anything in particular about any of the songs we haven't talked about that you think people should know about or would like to know about?
Wait, I don't know. I hope people hear this album and it's their new favorite album because music just it transports you. And my favorite album is the Vince Guaraldi Charlie Brown Christmas album. I have to hear that when it makes me happy. I also love Ella Fitzgerald's Christmas album. But, Christmas is it's like emotionally charged times. You can have a great Christmas or you can have a crappy Christmas. You just kind of don't know with life and how it goes on. So I'm hoping that this album, people find it and they're like, oh, I love it. And it's not real long. And I hope they love it and they press, repeat. They want to hear it again over and over. That's what I'm hoping. Hoping it brings them as much joy as it did, creating it all.
One of the things that I really got excited about with this is that most of it is original. I mean, I love Carol of the Bells, which is not on this, but that you had already recorded, and I like Shake Hands with Santa Claus, but that there's a whole bunch of new songs that get added to the canon of Christmas music. That's exciting because you hear a lot of I don't want to, Jingle Bell Rock is one of those that is like my whipping boy that I pull that out because it seems
I love
like
it too.
I do love Jingle Bell Rock, but it also seems to be one of those songs that a lot of artists, let's do a Christmas single and they throw out Jingle Bell Rock. and there's not a lot of heart in it, and it's again and again and again.
Yeah.
And at Christmas has a whole bunch of new songs for everybody to discover and enjoy, and and it it just evokes the holiday season. And I got very excited when I first heard about this, that there's a bunch of new songs. So that's great. Was that at all daunting to you to come up with a bunch of new songs, knowing that there are going to be some people who just want Bing's White Christmas?
Yeah, it did. It was daunting and a little overwhelming. And like I said, Tony was really helped me through it all. And Jeff Paris also wrote the title. We worked on the title cut at Christmas together. Yeah, it felt overwhelming at first. And I was like, I don't want to, everybody's heard these tunes, but when I was telling people I was recording a Christmas album, they're like, oh, are you going to do Mary Did You Know? All the favorite ones they love hearing me sing. It's like, no, but at the concert, my show, I'll do that song for you, but not on the album. So it was, yeah, a little daunting, but I really loved what we came up with and how, writing this time, I took my own advice. I tell a lot of songwriters, when you're going to write, there's that little inner critic that says, oh, that's no good. Oh, as you're writing, you got this critic. And I said, you know what? Take a cup of coffee, sit it off to the side, tell your little critic, hey, I'm busy. I'm going to write this. And I did that this time. And I didn't do a lot of fussing over it. And I let it be as it was. It's like, well, I don't need to change that. That's how I felt. That's how I said it. You know what I mean? So I just kind of let it flow as it came out. And really, it was the most joyful after I got over the stress of like, oh my God, I have to write all these tunes. After I got over that and it started flowing, it's like, well, yes, just let it go like this. Take your own advice. Set that little critic off to the side and tell it to shut up. I'm working here. I got to get this done. So that's how it went.
I apologize for asking this, but I'm a Christmas music junkie and I can't help it. Now that you have gone through this process, and even though At Christmas is just out, any thoughts about more Christmas music on the horizon from you?
Well, no, not really. During COVID, I recorded a bunch of those tunes that everybody loves, and I did a little YouTube video called "The 12 Days of Christmas." So I released. It turned into 14 songs, but I released a song a day during COVID. Everybody was like connected to their computers,
Yeah.
and did duets with my music friends. So I would send we would do it either by Zoom or on the phone. And I'd say, here's my part. Can you add your cello or your trumpet or your violin or your pedal steel or your piano or your bass, like all these friends. And I released, that. So I've sort of, I think I've exhausted it here for a while.
Huh? I know you've got a CD release party coming up next month and a couple Christmas shows. Beyond that, what's next for you?
Well, I don't have anything on the horizon except just promoting this album. What's next for me? I'm looking at maybe directing another show here in our community. I'm reading some plays now. I have to sort of plan a year or a half in advance for that because of playing music. So, and then my husband and I, we love traveling in December, November, December, or January and February. We'll do a little traveling and visit friends and yeah, just see how the next year unfolds.
What's the best way for people to keep up with you? Is it through your website, social media?
Yeah, website, social media. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. I try to post what I'm doing, shows that I have coming up and videos. Oh, I've made 4 videos to go with this record too. One of them was a live video that we did out in LA. And then 3 others, when I was here, came back. I thought, well, I want to release one in September because the Christmas record is "How Do You Get in the Mood to Sing a Holiday Song in September?" So I'm like, I gotta release that in September for a little, teaser. And then October we released one, "The Boy I Met for Christmas." And then November we'll release another one, and December another one. So that's been a whole lot of fun. I've been really busy with this album all year. It's been great.
Terrific. Well, I'll put a link down in the show notes to your website and your YouTube channel, and people can People who are listening can just go down there and click and check all that stuff out. And thank you. Thank you so much for spending some time with us and talking Christmas music today.
Thank you, Ken. It was a real pleasure.
And thank you so much for listening and for continuing to support the Sounds of Christmas station and podcast. I already told you how to listen to the station, and you're listening to the podcast now, so my work here is really just about done. All of our episodes are available on the Sounds of Christmas website. Just click the podcast tab. And we also have a Linktree page with most, if not all, of the sites that stream our podcast on there. So you can find your favorite and you can connect and subscribe, and you'll never miss another episode. If you have comments or suggestions on this episode, previous episodes, or the Sounds of Christmas station, feel free to reach out to me on social media or through the website. Thanks again. And may you always believe in Santa Claus.